let's hope all things will work out for the best in Ukraine. Anyway, but what we're gonna be talking about today.
Would you say it's more important or less important than the war in Ukraine?
It's about Coca-Cola, Chris. So, you know.
I wanted to ask you: did you manage to shift all of your shares in Gazprom before this started, or not?
I said we weren't going to talk about that on air, Chris.
Oh, sorry. We'll talk about it off air.
We'll talk about it off air.
Did you manage to shift all your shares in Chelsea Football Club before all this kicked off?
If I've legally changed my name to charity, was it Chelsea Charity Commission or whatever then, you know, none of your business.
Oh, okay.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Seems all above board. And you've got your
look. If a Premiership,
you've got your new passport from Malta, yeah.
If a Premier League fit and proper person integrity test passes me to be a proper person, what more stringent and rigorous investigation into the morals and ethics of a character could there be, Chris?
I can't imagine that there is one.
You'll be saying next.
They're all upstanding citizens with
our own sports and the upstanding city of London have somewhat contributed to the current situation by the massive.
Did you manage
the laundering of money? God knows what else happens in this country.
Did you manage to shift all those properties you own in London to a different shell corporation in the Cayman Islands?
I've just got an algorithm that does it automatically now, to be honest with you. Who can keep track? I don't even know what I own anymore, Chris.
Did you manage?
I don't know what horrifically despotic regime I made in 1 week from now.
Did you manage to get your peerage sorted out from the Conservative Party by donating plenty to them?
They're going plenty cheap. Don't worry. You'd be amazed what you can buy for $5 million these days, Chris.
So Nielinski, Herbertsv.
It's more you pay for the political influence on democratic policy, but your sort of peerages of like buy one get one free.
Right,
that's just a nice little balance.
That's nice. You put it at the bottom of your house.
So, really, the
makes it easier to open corporations.
The lobbying investment is for the influence, but yeah, you get it's nice to get a day out with the Queen, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely.
Get recognised for your charitable endeavours.
Yeah, but the Chelsea
benefit directly yourself. Yeah, well, they need to, bless them. They haven't won the Champions League for a couple of years. I mean, look, do you remember
last year?
Do you remember back in the 70s and 80s and 90s what a force they were, winning Premier League titles all the time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, add up to 10,000 people turning up to Stamford Bridge. Second division team. What I will say, though, I was quite amused that a controversial hacking collective, Anonymous, have started hacking Russia. So they hacked their state TV, and so it was just playing Ukrainian national songs, and they hacked all the government websites and took them down, and started putting different news reports up, which actually show what's going on in Ukraine over the Russian state-controlled media. So that's fun, isn't it? Russia loves a bit of hacking.
Yeah.
I like it up them.
Well, it should be interesting times. Yeah, as I say, just one hopes it sort of resolves itself.
Well, it's kind of weird. It's one of those which is unusual where pretty much the whole world seems to be in agreement, pretty much, apart from Belarus, obviously. But, even because Russia was thinking, we can probably get...
Well, China at the very best sitting on their hands. And
because they're not
Viktor Orbán is to condemn them.
Yeah, and Turkey is, I've just heard say, they're closing the Bosphorus Strait to Russian ships. So that's good. So they can't get into the Black Sea.
Getting their car payments cut off, so they're not going to be able to go down the 24-hour petrol station and get a kebab. Or you can buy a kebab at a petrol station. I suppose you can these days. It's a filthy world we live in.
And the thing is as well, right, I think they were sort of banking on China backing them, but China's like, we want the most influence around Asia, to be honest. So,
yeah, the thing is, you're Deng Xiaoping, you're going to do something very considered and not. I think the thing that is, he's
in a way with Confucian.
Well, it's the thing is because there was a lot, as you were saying earlier about that there's this is turning slightly into the sort of it's interesting how it comes out, so we'll see what we're keeping. But there's been a lot of, as we were sort of having a conversation offline before, the sort of real politic and stuff that's been doing, and you always kind of thought that as much as you sort of like didn't particularly care for the chat, Putin was quite a savvy player, and
savvy operator.
How they would sort of like interfere with Western democracies and things like this, and
I don't agree with his tactics, but to be honest, for 30 years he's played a bit of a blinder, I would say, for what he was trying to achieve. But he
seems to have gone off the deep end.
He's gone off the boil. Well, he's terribly afraid of COVID, isn't he? He's like deathly afraid of it, even though he.
Oh, really?
Exists. Like he's literally. I don't want to get like a Howard Hughes style character. He's like that, but because he thinks that COVID will kill him.
Mutter in a room with like boxes of tissues on his feet and stuff like that.
Yeah, building the spruce moose.
He wants to get some mafia lads to sort of surround him in his.
Going to try and
his hotel room
in a big, massive plane made out of wood.
Yeah, I think when you've got that amount of money and power, and you're not used to people sort of intervening with reality, I think it's just I
think he's lost his grip a bit on reality. I think the worst thing that people can do is surround themselves with yes men. But I think that it's almost an inevitable consequence of having absolute power for 30 years that you don't want to hear. You pretty much just think, I know what I'm doing and everything I say has worked so far, so it's always going to be right. And so anyone who tells you opposite, you just go, gulag.
Yeah. And, maybe ourselves in the sort of West probably shouldn't just look the other way because there's money rolling in terms of various.
Well, I wouldn't say. I would completely agree with that, and I would say the people in charge in the UK have a lot to answer for because it is number one destination for corrupt Russian people to invest their money / move to, because they can buy. Like if you invest. In case people didn't know, there's a golden visa system here, which was implemented by Labour. So I will say that. And it means that if you invest £2 million into the UK, and invest could mean you buy yourself a £2 million flat, right, in Kensington, then you get a visa, no questions asked, basically, to be able to stay here indefinitely. So we might kind of make a joke about people being able to, or I might make a joke about people being able to buy a Cypriot passport or a Maltese passport or anything. It's no different in the UK. It just costs more. So, it's fucking corrupt as shit.
But the wonderful thing is you can get like a knighthood on the side as well if you invest enough.
Lovely, yeah. Part of the establishment. Beautiful. Get your kids into Oxford.
Have a night out with Theresa May and Liz Truss.
Well, I mean, there's downsides.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was, but it was one of these one of the sort of more interesting.
Would you like me to laugh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I still Boris Johnson still can't be bothered to comb his hair when he's coming out academic, because I think the thing is now it's like, well, what will cause him to actually run a comb through his fucking head? I don't know. Oh, our Prime Minister. He's just...
Oh, nothing will.
No, yeah, exactly.
No, nothing will. But
why would it? Just like, that's his big Churchillian moment, and he's just coming out like he's just fucking woken up, rolled out of bed.
Crumbs all over down his suit.
Barbarous nonsense or whatever it is. I can't even watch the guy anymore. Anyway,
that's that.
Let's move on.
You will have to...
We'll have to think about what we keep in there, and if we do keep it, and then absolutely. And I'll just say to anyone listening,
sorry to the listeners.
Yeah, this is fresh news to us, so it's obviously
we're 3 days into the invasion, and just wanted to kind of, I don't know, we just wanted to chat about it really, of what our thoughts are. But our main thought is, with the Ukrainians who don't deserve any of this shit and are doing a bloody good job at the moment of pushing the Russians back. I mean, I like the fact that the Russian troops are surrendering quite a lot because they've been told a fucking pile of shit of the reason that they're going in there in the first place. And when they find out that it's all lies, they're like, right, well, I'm not going to fight my brothers over lies. So
no, absolutely.
I think they wanted to essentially blitzkrieg, and and before anyone could really find out what was going on, and because they're now getting bogged down, then the information's getting to the troops, and I think hopefully they will they'll say, well, we're not going to do this.
Yeah, no. Hopefully, it will resolve as quickly and with as little bloodshed as possible.
And I'd like to give a shout out to our ancient kingdom of the Republic of Ireland, who dropped all visa requirements for anyone from the Ukraine to be able to get safe passage and live in Ireland should they want to. They've given them an open door to go there to safety. So
imagine having a government to be proud of.
Yeah, we're not doing anything like that.
Of course not. No. Nigel Farage.
It would be very awkward for the oligarchs strutting around London if suddenly a load of Ukrainians turned up, and that the government wouldn't want that.
Yeah, we got to turn our capital into
the top 1% of our country have picked their
for Disneyland for autocratic regimes, haven't we? So how's that going to pan out if we let oi polloi in? Right, she'll all be living outside of Zone 6, just travelling in to clean their mansions. That's what the world should look like. Anyway, no, let's stop before we turn it into an entire podcast about that. That's just what's going on, guys. So it's big news. So we felt, I don't know if we've bound. We don't really feel duty bound to anything, but it's just something that we're talking about at the moment. It's on our minds, so we
came up.
Chat about it.
Guys, it just came up. Generally, I was going to say we stick away from religion and politics, but that's absolute bullshit. We're constantly taking the piss out of religion and politics. So, not sure where I was going with that.
I'm going to, I'll do one about some popes next week. Right.
The Borgias.
The British territory, yeah. Pope Innocent, not so much.
Hey, it's ironic then, pussycat. Hey, I like to make prostitutes crawl on the floor and collect walnuts. Innocente, wink, wink. What's the matter? You don't like fun? Hey, I'm the Pope. I'm fucking grateful.
Pope is honey.
Hey, get the guy some wine, huh?
Pope like to fuck. Anyways, no, stop. Another time. Right.
Hey, if God don't want me to fuck, why do I have such a big erection, eh?
I love how the Pope has just turned into fucking Scarface. Oh my God. What's he doing with that cassock? Right. That's where the little hat comes from.
Say hello to the Cardinal. Yeah. Cardinal Bang Bang.
So, my final attempt to try and translate. This is around.
Speaking about Cardinal Bang Bang.
Speaking about unholy popes.
This
is about the New Coke hoax, or the New Coke conspiracy. So this is one of those ones where we're kind of treading into conspiracy theory territory.
So I'll just say quickly, the only thing I know about New Coke was that it was brought out and people went, it tastes worse, and then they went back to the old Coke. That's all I know about it.
That's literally it, Chris. Well done. No, it's kind of...
well, score.
Well, actually, it's there we go. Yeah. No, it's actually... There's a bit more to it than that, and it's kind of like, I don't know, because I was surprised that... So New Coke, eventually it became... So just a bit about it. So this was back in the 80s, and I mean, I don't think came across... I don't think it was ever even necessarily in the UK.
I don't think so. Apparently, I remember Tab Clear, which I think was Pepsi.
Yeah, I can't remember that. That was the one you would It was clear. It was, you pour it into a glass and it looked like water.
Well, no.
Just demonstrating that whatever was in it was just...
No, so it looked like lemonade, basically, but it tastes like... Yeah. And
there was one that was completely clear, I think.
Yeah, Tab Clear. And it actually came in a clear can as well, like a plastic.
See, I remember buying one of these clear drinks and I had to pour it into a glass. It was like, oh, wow, that's clear, but it tastes a bit like, whatever, a soft drink. That's interesting. Except it came in a can that wasn't clear, thus negating the entire point.
Well, it might have been different. So I was So I remember having Tab Clear when I was still living in London. So we're talking late 80s.
Yeah, I mean, I bought this like once. I think it was just like a novelty thing, but
Yeah.
and I think it might have been. This is probably the 90s, so it was probably the fact that it was probably like a niche product at that point because everyone probably went out, bought one can, and then went, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And I suspect manufacturing a clear can probably is more expensive as well, so it probably didn't justify the margins or what have.
Plus, you could. That's the problem with that is you could always see the amount of mice in the cans.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to go back and listen to our least popular episode ever, Soda Mouse.
Yeah, we thought we'd revisit the soda territory, see if because we're coming with a big hitter. This is about Coke, which is like the biggest brand in the world, more or less. I don't know. I mean, Apple technically, I suppose, but
most recognisable brands, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
That was the premise of a whole movie in the 80s, wasn't it? Gods Must Be Crazy. Okay, anyway, so...
Well, I mean, it's not a difficult brand to recognise because their brand logo is just their name written. So,
Yeah.
It's not...
I mean, but it's iconic, isn't it? It's iconic, and you hear about, I mean, it's one of those things...
People seem to like it who are into that kind of stuff. So, like, people like... When you watch stuff like... what do they call it? There's that programme where they go around and find stuff in barns and then go and sell it in their shop. Storage? Not Storage Hunter.
Hunt for a bargain or bargain
Salvage? No, it's an American one. It's like Salvage Hunters or something like that. And they're always
there's about 2 million of these fucking shows. I can't be doing with it.
I don't mind it. It's all right.
It's fine, but I haven't got the mental bandwidth to remember this stuff.
I'll be honest with you, it doesn't take up a huge amount of mental bandwidth to watch.
It'll be one of those ones, if I go and visit my parents, we'll end up watching something like that. It'll either be like the one where they all do the B&Bs or they cook each other dinner.
I don't watch any of those. Like
it's all on the thing.
They're the English ones, aren't they? Like four in.
Yeah, the one thing like this, I will admit to watching occasionally on YouTube. I become weirdly fascinated where you'll see these YouTube things and it'll be like they'll find some like rusty old cleaver or something, or just like a lantern that's been like completely like just fit for nothing, and then they'll like sandblast it and re-clean it and just make it like new. So it's like weirdly therapeutic just watching them. Yeah, we're just people they'll have just like a DIY channel and they'll just take something and just like it looks like completely not fit for anything, and then they just make it look brand new. Have you
thought about maybe building a workshop in your back garden so you could do stuff like that?
Well, no, but I was looking at something because I just end up buying equipment and then not using it. But I was seeing something somewhere, and I keep an eye on this. Apparently, you're starting to see workshops springing up around the country. So because people can't afford all of this,
I know of one in Brighton.
Oh, okay.
So down near, very local, this down near the Gyratory on
I know.
Road has kind of all the woodworking tools, all the metalworking tools, all of that kind of stuff, and you can just hire the space for the day. And it's also got like artist space and office space. It's just like
and stuff like that. Yeah,
I think that's really good. Going there and building a chair or something.
I did woodwork when I was at school.
A chair that snaps.
Yeah. Yeah, because I wouldn't want to like buy a lathe or something like that. I just wouldn't use it. But
well, there we go. Should we do that, Neil? We'll go there and go. I don't know what any of this stuff does.
Yes, let's go down and have some horrific injury. I'm
gonna chrome my hand.
Yeah. Some equivalent of a foreman on the site is just there to keep idiots from injuring themselves. No, sorry, that's...
Yeah, but there's those
what are you doing with that molten metal?
Drinking it?
Yeah. I'm going to coat my insides with aluminium and then I'll be like, what's his face? Wolverine. I'll be like Wolverine. Yeah, I could have any kind of curry.
But yeah, there's a few of them in Brighton, but that's one which I was looking at. I can't remember why I was going to go there. I think... Because I've got that old DG 3/4 size bass that I want to make into a clock because it sucks to ever be used as a guitar again. So, but I've got to do some I'll be honest with you, I'm not a carpenter. I've got to do some tool stuff to it so I can
bit of routing.
Well, I want to give it a good old sand down, and I want I'm going to have to drill out or grout out or gouge out like a bit for the clock mechanism to sit in and that kind of stuff. So, and I don't have an outside space. I live in a flat, so I was thinking, I might go there for the day, see what happens.
Give it a go, yeah. Well, I imagine you sort of let them know what you're looking to do, because they're probably, there's people there who give you a bit. Just tell them.
I'll just turn up.
Just tell me everything is. Just do it myself. Just experiment.
Yeah. Have you used this before? Probably. Yeah. Probably be fine, mate. Got YouTube. Well, I do my own dental work now, so I don't see why I shouldn't do that.
That's true. Right.
Not like I don't do extractions, but yeah, I gave my teeth I got a kit to do. Yeah, I got rid of all the plaque, gave it a nice clean up, polish, beautiful. Teeth look nice there. Got rid of all the fag stains, didn't I?
Now,
Coca-Cola.
One of the reasons why you might want to clean your teeth is if you're drinking too much Coke. That brings me neatly the full attempts of our new Coke. So I don't recall it having been launched. I don't know if it ever existed in the UK. I don't know if Coke 2, as it was rebranded, ever existed in the UK. I don't remember coming across them. As we established, there was Tab Clear, which may have impacted. But so it's back in 1985, Chris. So Arnold Schwarzenegger's just started to become a big movie star. It's back in the Terminator. Oh. Having all of those great movies. Reagan's in the White House. Thatcher's in office. Yeah.
Commando.
I told you I'd kill you. Last I lied. That was terrible, terrible. Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I got the saying wrong as well. Anyway,
it was a masculine time.
It was a different time. It was
masculine. Muscular neoconservatism. I would say that the Wall Street.
Throwing good, Chris.
Gwig is good.
Yes, for want of a better phrase.
Loads of money.
Oh yeah, Harry Enfield. Back in his, mind you, he was more like 87, 88, wasn't he? I think loads of money.
I don't know.
He was probably a young up and coming comic at that point, just catching up with Charlie Eagson and Paul Day or whatever, starting to launch his hilarious comedic. White House even. Paul Day, did I say? So someone I work with, I think. But
not a comedian, it's very sensible.
Yeah, it's not. It works in IT. I don't even. It never really struck me as. No, Paul Day does the fishing show with what's his name? Bob Smith.
Bob Smith. Yeah. Oh no, he works in facilities.
Yeah. Right. So, at this point, actually, Cola's losing market share to Pepsi year on year. So they're still the biggest brand.
Didn't they?
Yeah. Get Jackson. It's the Pepsi generation, Chris. Remember that? That was the other thing.
The taste of a new generation.
Rip-roaring 80s. It was the taste of a new generation was coming through. Everyone liked
Gen Zers wouldn't touch Coke. They only have Pepsi.
Yeah. They'd only have...
Latterly, Virgin Cola. The Branson Cola.
Like Gen X are like Panda Pops.
So
don't get into all that. So yeah, they're kind of worried that they're going to finally lose market share to Pepsi because they've been growing year on year, and it's kind of like if they get to that point, and they've just bought out Diet Coke.
We made a big mistake taking cocaine out of the drink.
Yeah. Oh man, if they'd reformulated to that, we would drink a lot more Coca-Cola.
I'll be having some now. I mean, I wouldn't have to mix my own.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gotten price, hasn't it? I mean, never mind about the electricity prices.
They don't need electricity if you've got nose electricity.
And proper Coca-Cola. Original recipe. Cool. Yeah, so 70s and 80s, Pepsi gets bigger and bigger, and they're doing these Pepsi Challenge adverts, and their big thing is that actually they've got the, everyone agrees with blind taste tests that it's the best tasting Coke that you can buy. And then they've done their own kind of internal results. So they're looking at why they're losing market share. They've just bought out Diet Coke, which is selling quite well. But in terms of General Coke, they're losing ground to Pepsi, and they're worried that they're going to get to a point Pepsi's going to be able to claim, well, actually now we're the number one brand in the US. Cool. So they did some of their own internal taste tests, and they're like, actually, apparently it does taste better. And the thing is, they had, as we've just kind of like discussed, that their secret recipe had been tweaked several times. So, they've taken the cocoa leaf down a notch. And they've changed around with some of the sweeteners and things like that. So they have sort of tweaked with it over the years, but they decide they're going to do a bold new gambit.
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Throw it all out.
You didn't get where we were today by not making bold strategic decisions about sugar water that we're going to sell to kids.
Exactly.
So the chairman and CEO, Roberto Gozzetto, I'm not pronouncing that correctly, Roberto Gozzetta, I think, stepped before the press gathered at New York City's Lincoln Center to announce a new formula, which he declared to be smoother, rounder, yet bolder, a more harmonious flavour. And basically, lovely bit of corporate. By the way, I didn't announce at the start. I'm just reading this off of. We've gone again to the History Channel's website, history.com, source of a lot of our work. And then so they bring this out as the new Coke that they're going to do. And another phrase that came out with. So some may choose to call this the boldest single marketing move in the history of the packaged goods business. We simply call it the surest move ever made.
Sorry.
And the Coca-Cola president, so apparently that's Theo and the president of different things, he echoed the certainty. I've never been as confident about a decision as I am about the one we're announcing today. So with that kind of buy-in from your senior stakeholders, obviously this must have been an absolute masterpiece of marketing, and they carried the day, obviously, didn't they, Chris? New Coke was an absolute revelation, and everyone just flew off the shelves.
I tend to split the modern age into pre and post New Coke, but it was that much of a seismic shift in culture. And also in refreshment.
Absolutely. I mean,
it was a brave new, bold, round taste.
Yeah, we all tie ourselves into whether we were pre-Coke or post-Coke, and then whether or not you don't. I mean, an actual fact. So they'd confirmed in taste tests that people preferred the taste of New Coke to Pepsi and to Coke. So they had actually put a lot of effort into this, and.
Put more sugar in it.
Yeah, but they did.
Put some MSG in it.
Yeah, put MSG in it. A bit of beef fat as well. People like that.
Lovely.
Yeah. Well, whatever the market research says. And apparently, and I think at first, actually, it did start to sell quite well. More butter.
More butter.
Fry it as well. You can actually. There was a place in. I can't remember, but there's one of these fairs where they fry things, and they did have fried cola balls, which is quite impressive.
All right.
Alongside fried butter, which is one of the other.
Yeah.
Sounds like a little bit too much of a good thing, but there you go.
Well, I mean, I really like fried cheese, like Saganaki.
Yeah, it's true. Saganaki delicious.
Fried cheese. That's gorgeous.
It's more of a kind of like just making the cheese melty, though, isn't it? That's the thing. So, yeah, anyway, so... It started out quite well, but then it just started to sort of go off of a nosedive, and shares of Coca-Cola dropped. So no, it didn't. So the bold gambit didn't pan out so well in the long term, Chris.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they had done all the market research, probably they'd done all the taste testing, and in actual fact, people did supposedly prefer in blind taste tests than their new recipe against this and anything else. But Pepsi obviously.
Was it people feared change?
Well, here's what we'll come into in a second. So there's a couple of things to and how much you can actually test. How much you can trust some of these blind taste tests. 'Cause there's a lot of theories that go around, but just to say here that this is quite a funny one. Pepsi gave its employees the day off after the shares dropped and declared a victory in a full-page newspaper advertisements that boasted, after 87 years of going at eyeball to eyeball, the other guy just blinked. I imagine the corporate hubris. I imagine the cocaine was high in the corporate offices that afternoon.
Oh, I would have loved to have been there.
Oh,
whoa.
Good Lord.
Coked off your nut, champagne.
Anything goes. It's like the fucking purge that day if you're in the PepsiCo board. Nothing is off.
Yeah. I bet the madams of New York did well that evening. The next day, they declared a holiday. Oh dear.
Because this is so. Apparently, they were fielding 5,000 angry phone calls a day, and then that went up to 8,000 a day by June. But apparently, what seems to have happened? So there's two things.
Angry phone calls.
Yeah.
Why do you know my precious Coca-Cola?
And bear in mind, you're in the middle of an AIDS crisis here. You've got, unemployment current throughout. And what makes you angry? The fact that Coke have changed their recipe. And you can still buy the original. So I think they had shelved actually the original thing. And I think that they came out with Coke Classic. So 79 days after the initial announcement, they came out to
Coke Classic.
To say that you can now buy it under Coca-Cola Classic. And their reasons I think are fair enough. Is they didn't want to split the market between two different products. Again, they didn't want to be said that they were. Well, they didn't want Pepsi to have the kind of be able to say, well, the new, we now sell better than this particular Coke brand. Because also,
I understand that, but on the other hand, I would say, that's one way of looking at it, Pepsi. But on the other hand, Coca-Cola sells more than Pepsi.
Overall, you'd say that. But I don't know, they had a big thing about not sort of, they wanted to split the market and give them that kind of, I don't know, that market.
This is the number one Coke derivative that's bought.
Yeah, overall, between Diet and Coke 2 and Coke 1. And it's Coke 3 and it tastes fucking awful, but this guy in Vancouver likes it, so fair enough. We'll carry on making it.
Which is weird because that's nothing to do with the American market, which is what we care about.
One disgruntled drinker wrote to company headquarters, "I don't think I'd be more upset if you were to burn the flag in our front yard."
So they did that.
Yeah, so they went and did that, and so that one.
Oh no, it's another misstep.
And then that got on national news, and Reagan condemned.
But I've never been more confident that this is what America.
This is a bold.
Yeah.
Honestly, guys,
the Coca-Cola.
They're hitting out the part this day. This is the new Coca-Cola burnable flags range. It's going to be good. While you're enjoying the best soda on earth, you can also be burning the flag.
Keep yourself warm by burning flag.
It did not go down well. No, and apparently, actually, it's when it first came out, supposedly it sold quite well. What they reckon it was, also some of the sort of reading I've done around this, they think that actually when they did the blind taste tests, firstly, there's a bit of speculation about actually because you're just taking a small sip, you like something that's inherently sweeter, you'll prefer a little bit of, but trying to get through a whole can of it actually might be a bit different. Because they're all just like overly sweet sugar waters, but I must confess I don't particularly care for Pepsi. I find it too sweet. But supposedly in blind taste tests it does come out more. I mean, they're all over processed, and I don't tend to buy any of them, to be honest with you. But
I drink a lot of sugar-free / diet Coca-Cola.
Yeah, if I'm having something like that, I might go. But I might prefer, like, if I want something sweet, I'd prefer like an iced tea or something like that. Hey. Oh, you're a Pepsi generation.
Diet Pepsi right now.
Fair days.
But to be honest, I just like any diet Coke-based drink. So in my fridge, I've got Co-op own brand 60p for 2 litres diet Coke drink, and that's fine. I just quite like it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It's sort of horses for courses, isn't it? I mean, I don't mind the.
It's replaced alcohol for me.
No, fair days. I quite like Fentimans do like probably what's more akin to the original one actually, which I don't mind. It's probably a bit too sweet, but it's got a bit more of a sort of botanical kind of flavour going on. It's a bit more complex. I'm that kind of idiot. Pretentious wanker.
IPA, botanical Cokes.
But I reckon there was like a twofold.
Open-faced fucking Vietnamese sandwiches. Don't know what's going on here now. What's wrong with a pork pie?
Pork pie, smothered in mustard, and a nice diet Pepsi on the side with no ice, thanks. Fill it to the top. They think that actually, so it might be that this sort of blind taste testing actually doesn't work that well in reality. The other thing,
the blind taste test should only be, and this may sound really obvious because it is, the taste test should be done. You should be given the amount of the product that that people would normally have. So like a can of it or whatever, rather than a little thimbleful. Do you know what I mean?
I guess it's going to be difficult to do that under laboratory conditions because it's not. You just give them a can of the thing, or the equivalent volume. But then they've got to sit there for like half an hour while they drink it, I guess.
No one takes half an hour to drink a can.
Whatever,
Well, so what? Like,
Yeah, they're pretty rich, aren't they? They can afford to do it. Well, anyway, some people say that's that might be part of it. So, did people truly prefer the flavour or not? So, they're flawed tests, and this is the thing with a lot of these things. I remember when I was at uni, we did a test once that was quite funny. It was like, I can't remember, it was something like the heart rates in people with different coloured hair. And it was just to show how, it's really important to make sure you minimise variables. So what they'd done is just the first lot were separated from one particular coloured hair, and then the second lot had lower levels of resting heart rate. It was just because the first lot had actually had to climb up some stairs beforehand. So but they just did it on purpose to say, well, this is, design an experiment. This is the kind of thing that
I remember being in reception, so that's like pre-primary school, and they were teaching us how bad sugary drinks were in the class. And so they said, a bottle of Coca-Cola, 2-litre bottle, has like 30 spoons of sugar in it or whatever. And they did that in like 30 spoons of sugar into just water.
Yeah.
And then like passed it around, see how sugary this tastes. And the kids all just really liked it. I remember the guy next to me was like, I had some, and then I said that I hadn't got any, so I got some more. They were like, kids are like, wee! So, although it taught us that, what it taught me was that kids really like sugar.
Yes. Well, the thing is as well, it's that,
I didn't really drink fizzy drinks. I pretty much grew up on squash.
Yeah, that was what we had
concentrate, whatever
as well.
Call it.
Yeah, which are a bit less sweet, and it tends to be more sort of fruit, or they're quite sweet, but they're fruit juice based rather than kind of like artificial sugar.
Yeah, it's just mainly water.
Yeah. But no, absolutely, and it's kind of, but but people do, and also, well, it's one of those balances. They reckon this can be a problem with a lot of the so-called sort of low-fat foods. They substitute sugar instead, which just stores as fat. So there's absolutely no point whatsoever pretending that's low-fat.
Sugar's the worst one, really.
Yeah, because it converts immediately into that sort of energy.
Yeah.
Or it's quick. Anyway, so. Yeah, and they reckon actually, so they think that part of what it was is that where they would test people, but then when they what they couldn't actually ask them was, so do you prefer the taste of this to this? Yesterday, would you prefer it if that replaced the normal recipe of Coke? That was one thing they couldn't ask because they didn't want to let them know that they were planning on doing something different. But they did sort of ask, well, something that inferred something along those lines. I can't remember exactly what the question was. And 10% of the respondents would get very angry about this. And what they actually found is that there was, it became a bit of a backlash, they reckon, of people just, whether they prefer the taste or not is debatable. That's one thing. But also people really kind of like, what they do know from market research afterwards is that people really kind of, they bought into the whole concept that they've been selling them for 100 years, that Coke is like this iconic American brand and it's number one and it's, the original and the best and all the rest of it. And so people got an emotional attachment to it. And, weirdly, but, but this is how brands work. And the thing is, as much as we can sort of turn our nose up at it, branding does work on every, we've all got subconscious, desires and all the rest of it. And advertising must work because they ain't spending that money for nothing. I don't think any of us are.
Yeah.
You could be savvy about it, but I think,
I would say advertising works in it will give me an awareness of something. I don't think advertising works in a positive way in getting me to buy something. Advertising generally, for me, tends to make me not want something. So, there are many reasons why I don't like Apple, but Apple's pretentious, gotta get an Apple, be a cool guy kind of advertising turns me off, and I would never have Apple products, partially because of that, partially because I don't like their closed shop mentality where you have to have only Apple products, because I don't agree with that. I like PCs because I can just do what I want. So, but a lot of, to be honest, maybe I'm unusual, but in a lot of ways, me becoming aware of things makes me dislike them more than like them. So I kind of prefer to go and do my own research and get stuff.
To an extent, but the Coke you're drinking is a particular brand. So you might say, actually,
that's the only one which that's the only one which that was the cheapest one which they sold in the Tesco's local, which is 3 minutes.
Which might be driven by customer demand, which might be driven by advertising. There's different ways that these.
If they had the Tesco's own brand stuff, I would have got that.
No,
this was cheaper than Diet Coke. But
anyway, look, my point is that I think none of us are completely immune to branding. Maybe you are, but I think on the whole, people generally, it does have a subconscious effect.
I think awareness. Something. I mean, for some reason, and I've just been told or whatever, for some reason I think Bang & Olufsen do good music stuff, but that doesn't make me want to go and buy Bang & Olufsen stuff particularly. Yeah. But I think they're good. But I don't know if they're that good compared to what they cost.
For the price, absolutely not. No. And your comments on Apple, and that's exactly what Bang & Olufsen are like. It's a lot of style over substance in a lot of ways. Anyway, I mean, there's better products out there. But, but now we come to the crux of the.
We're getting to the conspiracy now.
We're getting to the conspiracy now, yeah. So here's the thing. So the next phase of this, actually, so they've had to bring out the new Coke and Coke Classic, and eventually they basically reversed tack after the sort of a bit of a debacle.
It's a disaster.
It didn't work out so well in the long term, so they changed New Coke to Coke 2. Bought back the old version of Coke. But here's the sting in the tail. Actually, their market share then went massively up. So people started buying Coke much, much higher rates than they did beforehand.
Right.
So,
so they took a short-term loss for a long-term gain.
Well, this is the kind of theory that people have. So there's a few different ones that fly around. So one is like, well, they're quite savvy players. They've always done very well. Did they just actually create an artificial demand for the original product?
Make a shit Coke.
Make something that would annoy everyone.
How much they miss real Coke.
Yeah, they'd buy into the original one, and then it will fly off the shelves when we bring it back up. And you hear people saying things like, or they're supposedly rumours of on the bottling plants they were still doing the original versions of Coke and bottling it up and then sort of stacking it off to one side and what have you. Yeah. Another theory that's gone around is around this time is when they switched to high fructose corn syrup.
Right.
So there's a theory that actually they wanted to switch from cane sugar to high fructose corn syrup because it's a lot cheaper. So, they just basically had all of this stuff and then brought back the original recipe. So again, come out with a recipe people will like worse. Go back to the original recipe, but we've swapped out one of the key ingredients to be cheaper.
So they use the bridging recipe. So between the Coke with cane sugar and the Coke with high fructose. So they had a bridging one, so when people went back to the
original, they didn't notice the difference.
Then they didn't really notice the difference, right?
Because people.
So it's not exactly microchips in the Coke. Then it's actually the conspiracy is potentially.
I don't know. It might be there might have been some kind of mind control that they were trying to incorporate. I don't know. It's. I'm not anti-vaccine, Chris. I just want to ask reasonable questions. God, I was listening to this guy. I was waiting for a bus the other week, and most obnoxious toss. The problem is, when people are quite satisfied with their opinion and they just need to sort of like shout it quite loud across the street when they're having a conversation with
As a podcaster, I don't know what that would be like.
You do on a podcast, people could decide whether they want to listen or not. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's something where somebody, and this poor chap who's sitting with him, and he's just getting berated with this fucking shite this guy was talking. And all under the guise of, and it's kind of like the nuts they suck. Well, you can't think for yourself, so why don't I think for you? Explain to you how the world works. Well, I assume so.
Right.
I mean, because this guy was really an insufferable prick. I mean, you believe whatever you want to believe, man, that's fine. But it's just this hectoring tone, and I think pretty much everything he was saying was bullshit. But it was with a real air of self-righteousness and self-certainty. Spike proteins are toxic, Chris. Don't you know that? Literally putting a toxin in the vaccines. Why is that never reported on? It's not a fact. That'd be the reason for that, mate. I know you've said with certainty it is, but actually it's not. So anyway, I'm probably coming across like that myself now. But no, it's just. Well, I mean, I don't know whether it's just me, but it's just I could really pick up on everything he was saying, and it just when you feel like somebody's almost like what's the word? Doing a bit of a performance rhetorically.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm not just talking to my friends. It's quite
Talking to everybody, yeah.
I'm
So
sort of just
everyone knows
broadcasting to the local region, which is just this fat lad at a bus stop and my mate and then one other person standing there. I've got to stop going to that bus stop.
Just remind me again what you were doing your masters in.
Biochemistry.
Right, so maybe you would know slightly more about him.
I'm not an epidemiologist, but I mean, I know nothing about.
I know, but I mean,
the main thing is just do your fucking research. But if you're gonna want to challenge and all the rest of it, then don't just go to the first source that you've seen and then go, aha. Cross-reference your sources is what I would argue for anyone who wants to do their own research.
No, I mean, I would say all like is in the disclaimer. All stuff said on this is not. It's our own opinion and stuff. So the stuff about Russia and stuff,
absolutely.
I've not got. I mean, I know more about it than I've said here, and I haven't gone in depth. But in no way do I consider myself an arbiter of truth. I mean, this is just my view on it.
This is purely an opinion-based podcast. Yes, we're not geopolitical experts or anything else.
I don't get involved in arguments and stuff for people on the internet or anything like that because at the end of the day, information's out there, come to your own conclusions. Do you know what I mean?
Well, absolutely. And I think, at the end of the day, anyone who genuinely probably has enough expertise to engage with that argument probably won't waste their time engaging with you on the internet. So,
Oh, exactly.
Got better.
And also some people, unfortunately, people aren't really interested in. It's kind of post-truth, isn't it? People aren't really interested in actual facts or.
Well, no, I'll tell you what I think what it is, Chris. It's
or empirical evidence or anything like that.
It's because I think people come to these things with a set of beliefs, but people don't want to, especially when you get someone who's like, oh, well, I'm an atheist and I'm entirely rational and I don't, I act on pure logic. I am Spock. It's like, actually, no, everyone has biases. Everyone has, everyone has blind spots. Everyone has beliefs that they have to get around. And we all do. That's inevitable.
Well, that's why I say I'm agnostic because, being an atheist is no different.
Yeah, exactly.
It's no different than believing in a religion, really, because at the end of the day, it's an unknowable. It's a knowable unknowable.
No. Likewise, it's not something that you can ever know. And when I say, I'm projecting as somebody who's like that. It's kind of like, I'm this pure rational being. Yeah. I think the most irrational thing you can think is to think that human beings are completely logical. If that you've really not thought or felt it through.
Atheism is as irrational as any religion is, because you might say, well, believing in a God's irrational because where's the proof? But where's the proof that it doesn't exist?
Oh, absolutely.
So each of them is equally irrational.
From a pure logical perspective, they're equally indefensible positions. Anyway, but yeah, it's kind of like, I forget how we started off on this tangent, but yeah, I think the point I'm making is that kind of like, I think people don't want to admit that actually I might just strongly feel nervous about a vaccine or something like that, and then I look for things to support that. And look, it's fine to feel like, personally nervous about something, or if you're not sure or whatever, it's your health. It's your own thoughts, I guess, but probably better to, if you can get vaccinated for everyone else is sort of good and all the rest of it. But I think, people do have their own built-in beliefs and about various other things. I'm not just getting onto that one, but it's kind of like, when you try and rationalise that as like, I know best, but everyone else is an idiot because I haven't researched it properly. Well, no, actually, I think for a lot of this stuff, they're just pandering to what they innately believe and their own sort of illogical conclusions that they've drawn.
I think the thing is that these people don't like showing fear or weakness. Weirdly, I don't really mind doing it, but people don't, and people will have now got a good out. Rather than just saying I'm scared about.
Yeah,
this is a scary time. This global pandemic. I'm scared. I don't know what's going on. I'm scared about this vaccine. I'm scared about having this thing in my body. I'm scared and I don't know what to do, which is an absolutely rational place to be.
Absolutely.
So rather than just admitting that, then people can find anything to defend or argue for any position you take on the internet, and then they can use that to say that's why I feel this way, rather than just going, look, hands up, I'm fucking scared. because none of us have lived through this before, and it's scary, and I'm scared about having the vaccine because I'm scared. Like, that's it, and that's absolutely fine to be scared. You don't have to then go looking for a reason not to have it. You can just go, but I'm not having it at the moment because I'm fucking scared.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm scared of what it will do to my body. I'm scared of putting stuff in my body. I don't really understand the vaccine. Like, are you putting some of this illness in me because people are dying from it? What's going on?
Yeah.
They just go, right, let's go and look up a reason not to do it.
No, agreed, and I think that's where a lot of this stuff stems from. But anyway, there you go. And talking of that kind of sort of thing, I'm desperately trying to segue back into the new Coke story. That people were scared to move away from the gorgeous original brand of Coke. Apparently,
we've never been through this before. A new Coke, we're scared. We know our grandparents had to go through the removal
in the middle of the Cold War. It could all be over at any minute now. Last thing I want to do is, be drinking
a new Coke,
new type of Coke. I mean, good Lord,
we could get bombs at any time. What? And the last thing I will have drunk is one of these new Cokes.
Oh, terrible!
I want as the bomb drops, I want to be sipping on the Coke that makes me feel comfortable as I dissolve away from this mortal coil.
But and then this is the thing: is a lot of people did, they were basically advocates for not wanting to change this stuff, and that's what caused a lot of the moisture. Anyway, where we'd got onto then in terms of the conspiracy theories was all okay. Yeah, was it that they just wanted to sort of it was like a clever long game. They're just doing a bit of 4D chess so that they could bring out something worse and then bring back the original one and people will buy it more. And if that's the case, it worked. Or they wanted to change it across for some other.
Did it work? Did it work as? So has someone done the figures? So the amount that they lost because people were buying less of the new Coke, was that then compensated for plus more?
Over the years, it will undoubtedly have been more because they were.
How long did the bounce back to the Coke work?
Well, I think it was only out for about a year or so before they switched tack, so they couldn't have hit their overall market share that hard.
Right.
And because they literally within like 3 months they came out with Classic Coke, which some people were, but they think it was kind of like a hardcore of people who really hated the Coke, who then and then they started to influence the other people. So then once you bring back the original one, everyone just starts drinking that instead. So, but
there were just a bunch of fifth columnists bought by Coca-Cola, like nudging people in the street, going, "He's right, this this Classic Coke, the old Coke was much better. We should start bringing in, yeah."
Yeah, and that was the thing as well, because the thing with the high fructose corn syrup as well. Apparently, this was partly down to people swearing that when they brought back the original, it wasn't the original one. So it definitely tastes different. Anyway, so all those soft drink sommeliers out there. Yeah, exactly. Oh, this is a slightly different type of overly sweet thing.
Stuff as rounds.
I mean, the one thing with the theory about the high fructose corn syrup, that's reasonably demonstrably false, because actually that was just more down to the costs of things. So apparently, I think it was about a year beforehand, they'd already said that people could put in I think the way it works is a bit like a franchise operation with Coke. So that there are bottling plants who mix the stuff together and bottle it, or can it, I guess. And they were allowed to use up to 50% high fructose corn syrup. And then that went up to 100 because it saved the money. So they reckon that most of them had sort of switched over by that point as well. So, and the other thing
they're not allowed to use high fructose corn syrup in the EU, are they? It's North America.
It's in loads of things in the US because they they grow so much of it. But I don't know, to be honest with you, Chris. Which is
why a lot of the stuff like chocolate and all that kind of stuff, and sweets taste different in Europe than in the US, because they just put high fructose corn syrup in everything, and we don't use it. It's banned, I think, because it's so unhealthy.
Yeah, no, I think it's kind of like, or supposedly it's, it's
good for the old obesity.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I think that the general consensus is that the, so the high fructose corn syrup thing, I think, is probably almost certainly false. But could you put it past them to have sort of done the whole thing on purpose just to increase their market share?
I mean, it's a bold ploy if they did.
Yeah, and I think it's.
I'm not sure they would have taken that. I mean, it's a risk, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, everything around the fact that the fact that they were canning the old versions and then waiting to sort of sell more and more of it, that is absolutely debunkable and it's complete sort of nonsense. And that normally when you get into this kind of a thing, it would normally be it could sort of begin to tank a brand. But as the president said afterwards, so some critics will say Coca-Cola made a marketing mistake, and some cynics will say we planned the whole thing. The truth is we're not that dumb and we're not that smart. So I mean, their official take on it is that actually, and Snopes has come out and said, well, no, this is kind of like a false rumor. And just
would it be fair for me to say this is one of our less spooky ones?
Well, you want spookiness? Let me just let me read out. Let me read out this.
Unless cocaine fueled.
This
conservative.
This piece of marketing spiel to you. The simple fact is that all the time and money and skill poured into consumer research on the Coca-Cola could not measure or reveal the deep and abiding emotional attachment to original Coca-Cola felt by so many people. The passion for original Coca-Cola, and that is the word for it, passion, was something that caught us by surprise. It is a wonderful American mystery, a lovely American enigma, and you cannot measure it any more than you can measure love, pride, or patriotism. Did that not chill you to your very fucking bones?
Yeah, I've actually left my body.
That was quite spooky, wasn't it? Yeah, so I mean, I think there's, I mean, we'll get into it, I guess, but it's just a fun little story, I think, and it's funny because I mean, I can't remember. It's something. So they rebranded it to Coke 2, and then surprisingly it was still around to like 2002 apparently. When they originally got rid of it, I don't think this was ever available.
They had like a load of old cases that they were still selling in.
Yeah, and actually, ironically, it's probably really expensive. You probably like cases of Coke 2 that you get for $1,000 on eBay or something now.
Like criminals were buying it as well as artwork to launder money to make drug deals.
It's the original cryptocurrency, Chris. Yeah, but I suppose it's possible. It's possible that they that the whole thing was just a massive scam that they did to increase their market share. I don't think I kind of not sure the execs would have been that smart, but it's interesting as well that what was actually a massive balls up they just fell off backwards into a massive success.
Well, it's white privilege for you, isn't it? Failed upwards.
Well, into the story we're going to go through here, which is the Hopkinsville Goblins case. Case of the Hopkinsville Goblins.
First mention
Kelly
of Goblins.
Hopkinsville encounter, if you prefer. So I'm going to read to you from. You're a fan of the History Channel, Chris.
Well, not the History Channel. I'm a fan of History Channel 2.
Oh, right. Is that the one that just goes on about the Nazis and aliens constantly?
Maybe.
Oh, guess what? We're gonna go off of the History Channel. I'm assuming History.com is affiliated to the History Channel. It looks like it's got the same logo, if I recall correctly. So I want you to cast your mind back to a night in August 21st, 1955.
That's going to be difficult because it was prior to my birth.
Well, just imagine. Just use the power of imagination to cast you back. You're in southwestern Kentucky.
Big bopper on the radio.
Yeah, big bopper on the radio. Music hasn't died yet. Don't know. When did the plane come down? Don't know. You're at Hopkinsville police station in southwestern Kentucky when a large extended family from the local farm called the Suttons arrive breathlessly and tell you a terrifying tale. So
I'm imagining everyone speaks like in Justified for this.
I would hope so. I'd be very disappointed if not.
Kentucky.
Yeah. They're all, having just a little nip of good bourbon.
Moonshine.
Oh, yeah, possibly some shine.
Cherry pie.
Very nice. So
we almost shot tonight, boys.
Or they've just been off in the general league, dropping off moonshine down to the, that's probably
off their faces an Oxycontin.
Probably not in 55, in fairness. No, they came into the police station to tell them about a terrifying siege they were having by otherworldly beings. This is one of the most detailed and baffling accounts of an alien close encounter on record.
Alien?
An alien. We're talking.
Can I make a quick guess?
Go on.
Is this the story which the film Critters is based on?
Yes, you are. Well, allegedly that is correct. Yeah.
Yay!
Loosely based.
What do I win? Your pride?
Respect of absolutely no one.
Lovely.
Yeah, I don't know where you got that from, but it's sort of
very, it sounds like it.
Very, very loosely.
Like tiny aliens.
I mean, you wait until you get to the bit with the intergalactic bounty hunters with the explosive things. Yeah, you could shapeshift. That's pretty good. So, they were at their farmstead, and they were very, very so as well, this isn't one where it's just kind of like they've seen an alien from miles away. They got into a firefight with some aliens, Chris. They had to go to
aliens with all their alien shotguns.
Well, who knows? I mean, who knows?
Muskets, pearl-handled garter guns.
I mean, they've got interplanetary distance technology that they can move around the universe in, but maybe they didn't. Maybe they're pacifist aliens. Maybe they don't.
Well, I think what's happened there is they've put all of their research into interplanetary technology and fuck all into weapery. Yeah. So they've got really rudimentary weapons,
haven't they? So they're just going to get invaded by somebody who's he's more
somebody called out.
better rounded skill tree. Yeah, that's what's happened there. Okay, so the alleged encounter occurred on the Suttons farm in a tiny rural hamlet of Kelly, Kentucky, which I assume is near Hopkinsville. Anyway, where the family lived on an unpainted 3-room house without running water, telephone, radio, TV, or books.
Sounds shit.
Yeah, it's 55. I mean, they would have had they didn't have running water. I thought they might have had a well or something, but well, yeah.
You would think with all that spare time, you get the house painted.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, probably busy. They must have had some. Yeah, they must have had a well or something.
Might have had that. They might have every night played that game where you throw the horseshoes at the spike in the ground.
That's good, that, isn't it? That keep you entertained for 10 minutes.
Well, is that all painting? It's up to you, kids.
Yeah. All right, we'll play horseshoes again, Dad. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think it would have been that rare to have not had a telephone, a radio, or a TV.
No, not having sticks.
I think that was pretty. I would think that would be pretty common, actually. Books, okay, there's something there. But yeah, and I think it's actually not uncommon to sort of dig a well these days. And if you're living in certain parts of America, it's you don't necessarily have connection to, or if you're in Michigan, you wish you weren't connected to the local waters.
That's a hot topic there, Neil.
Let's not get into that. So basically, yeah, they've been
had a year.
Yeah. Well, it's still happening, isn't it? It's still All for want of a small investment to not let the pipes all go rusted and leaded. Anyway, there you go.
Well, it's all the chemicals that go into the water, into the aquifer and stuff, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but they reckon that if they had have actually treated them correctly, I mean, now that the damage has been done, they're completely fucked, and they'd have to replace all of the piping. But if they'd actually spent a minimum amount of money to treat them, it wouldn't have happened. Anyway,
buy cheap, buy twice.
There you go. Yeah, stitching time saves a load of plumbing going leaded. Lead for petrol, not for drinking. Anyway, so it happens. So basically, we're having a firefight out on their farm. One fact is indisputable. So there was their story is that there was a UFO landing and some small alien creatures attacked them. But one fact is indisputable. When the 8 adults and 3 children arrived at nearby Hopkinsville police station at around 11 p.m., they were genuinely terror-struck. And the police chief, Russell Greenwell, later told investigators, these aren't the kind of people who normally run to the police for help. What they do is reach for their guns. And don't you worry, Chris, they absolutely did. It's
like a firefight, didn't
19.
So.
Yeah. Yet here they were, women and children hysterical, and one man with a pulse of 140 beats per minute, measured by an investigator.
To be fair, he was morbidly obese.
Yeah, I mean, my resting one is about 120. So according to accounts given by the police, at around 7 p.m. on the hot Sunday evening, the Sutton family friend Billy Ray Taylor was fetching water from the backyard well. Yeah, there you go, they had a well. When he saw a silvery object, real bright, with an exhaust, all the colours of the rainbow. And as he later recounted, it came silently towards the house, passed over it,
yes,
stopped in the air.
Right. An exhaust, all the colours of the rainbow.
All the colours of the rainbow. Real bright.
Run, Charlie, run. Sorry. That's just, yeah. Yeah, exhaust pipe, all the colours of the rainbow.
Look, Billy Ray had a way with words.
Billy Ray, that's why the ladies liked him.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. So he stops in the air and then drops straight to the ground. So Billy Ray and he's 21 and his wife was 18. I'm not sure why they're telling us that. They come from Pennsylvania to visit Lucky Sutton, with whom he'd worked on a travelling carnival. So they're carnies. That's good. The Suttons' 50-year-old widow and matriarch, Glennie Langford, her 2 older sons and their wives, the brother-in-law and the widow.
Woman.
Yeah, bearded woman, cheap boy, alligator man, lobster child.
Painted lady.
Yeah, or whatever else was in that old black and white movie. Okay, I'm forgetting now, but basically there's a load of these people living on a farm.
Said, so Lucky, so him and Lucky worked on the travelling circuit. So carry on from there.
Yeah, so he's mates with a chap called Lucky Sutton. So it's the Sutton's farm. So Billy Ray Taylor and his wife, they're coming down to visit an old mate who he'd worked with on travelling carnival. And on the farm, so there's a 50-year-old widow. So the husband's died. That's Glennie, and she's got 2 older sons, and they've got wives, and they all live together. There's a brother-in-law and the widow. She's got 3 younger children, 12, 10 and 7. So quite a big family she's got. But they didn't take Billy Ray seriously. You know, he talks about having seen this UFO.
Oh, Billy Ray.
Well, you know what he's like, Billy Ray.
You're always spinning a yarn.
You know what they're like. You've been out with a carnival, they tell all sorts of tales, don't they?
Fucking carnivals, yeah.
But, yeah, I can't trust them. An hour later, alerted by the dog's incessant barking, Lucky and Billy Ray went to the back door and they made out a strange glow, in the midst of which they spied a small humanoid creature, about 3.5 feet tall, had an oversized head almost perfectly round, arms extended almost to the ground, hands had talons, and its oversized eyes glowed with a yellowish light. The body gave off an eerie shimmer in the light of the night's new moon, as if it were made of silver metal.
Yeah, so sounds like Michael Gove. Little politics joke there,
but less freaky,
but more gorgeous,
but more gorgeous. Mind you, I don't know if you can see this thing dancing. You never know. So what do they do, reckon, Chris? I think you can guess.
Shoot it.
Yeah. Terrified, the 2 men grabbed a 20-gauge shotgun and a .22 rifle and fired at the little man. Its hands. I mean, it's a good job it just wasn't someone's kid wandering around in the backyard, wasn't it?
Well, you're not going to have much luck with a shotgun at that kind of distance. And the rifle's that's like a varmint rifle. So they're using exactly the weapons you wouldn't want to.
I reckon these people
for intergalactic skirmishes.
I reckon they know. I reckon they know their weapons. These lads.
Nah. No, it just picks whatever's closest or
Yeah.
trying to scare it off.
They fired a little man with his hands now raised as if held at gunpoint as it came towards the back door. They reported it then did a flip, scrambled upright and fled into the darkness.
Did a backflip.
Then they did, just did several backflips. Then shortly after, the men saw a similar creature appear in a side window and fired through the window screen. Still impervious to bullets, the little man again flipped and disappeared. I went out in the hallway and crouched down next to Billy, and I saw one approaching the floor, Mrs. Langford told Isabel Davis, author of an extensive report called Close Encounter at Kelly and Others of 55. It looked like a 5-gallon gasoline can with a head on top and small legs. It was a shimmering bright metal like on my refrigerator.
Well, they have refrigeration, so that's good. It's
Yeah,
not all bad.
So hang on a second. So they've got electricity then. They just don't have any. I mean, they don't have running water. They've got a well, so that's fair enough.
Yeah,
We're going back to what
plumbing doesn't work on electricity. Just to clear that up for you.
No, I am aware of the difference.
Get one of them electric toilets.
I mean, after trying to drink out of the electrical socket no more than 20 times did I repeat the experiment. I don't do it anymore, Chris. I use a tap, or the faucet, as our American friends would say. Right. So the drama escalates when Taylor steps outside under the small overhanging roof, and those behind him saw a claw-like hand reach down and touch his hair. The group screamed and pulled Taylor back, while Lucky shot above the overhang and then at another similar creature in a nearby tree. It floated to the ground and then scurried into the woods. So Sutton's moved inside, spent several hours listening for movements, hearing mostly occasional scratches on the roof. At 11 p.m, the whole station ran for the cars and hightailed it to the Hopkinsville, don't know why that's so hard for me to pronounce, Hopkinsville police station at top speed. So they're speeding, I bet, so they're going to get caught out there.
Think of the town as being a cult that started by Anthony Hopkins, if you need to. Hopkinsville.
They did like a memoir there for something.
Yeah.
So the local police chief calls for backup because he's not fucking about. Do you know what I mean? If it's going to scare the Suttons, we're going to get him tooled up. I mean, this is why, like modern Royal Police Forces, Chris, they have like armoured tanks and that.
Military, the militarisation of the police.
It's not because of ridiculous, overspending on militarisation of the police.
War on drug stuff.
Yeah, no, it's because you never know when you're going to come up against intergalactic entities, and you're going to have to get tooled up.
I believe this is why the SWAT team was formed.
Yeah, you don't do it because you want to have to use it, but it's because you don't want to have to use it.
You don't do it at all because there is a ridiculous system within all sort of public works, which is that you have to spend your entire budget by the end of the financial year. Otherwise, your budget will get shrunk, rather than them just going, okay, you haven't spent that much this year. That's fine. You still have the same budget next year. So you end up buying stuff that you don't need. It's not that at all.
No, it's not that. Look, I'll tell you what, Chris. I would say, what's the one problem I have with the military, and obviously, God bless them, but too much training, too much faffing about.
Yeah.
I think what we need to do over here is, definitely much more heavily arm our police forces with military equipment, but just don't bother the training, because that's where the costs come in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably a week or so.
They're all sitting around. Military all sitting around in barracks. Like most of them going into towns, getting drunk.
You've seen them, Chris. They're just marching up and down on a parade, aren't they?
What's the point in that? Ugh.
Get out and go and catch some criminals. Anyway, some aliens.
If disband the military, just keep Trident. Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Just get more of them submarines rolling around. You don't know where it is, so it could be right by you. Are you feeling lucky, punk?
Could be in your bath.
That's the fact that our nuclear deterrent system is literally just the equivalent of a Clint Eastwood movie.
I mean, my feelings about Trident, which is disband it and let's not have nuclear weapons, because
possibly not really a deterrent for the future. Anyway, still though, it's good value, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like...
let's face it, we've spunk to a lot of money over the last couple of years. Fuck it, in for a penny, in for a pound. Let's get another couple going on.
Yeah, why not? We'll get Boris Johnson's mates to build it, who currently work in, I don't know, cabinet makers.
We need a couple of garden bridges as well. One between Northern Ireland and Scotland, preferably. Obviously we'll call it the Johnson Bridge.
Yeah, perfect.
No, why not?
Boris's bouncy bridge.
Better than giving the North decent railway.
Nah, fuck them.
Well, they'd just squander it, wouldn't they?
If they were serious about improving their lot in life, they'd move to the south.
Yeah, they'd move to London and make it really over-expensive and overcrowded. Hasn't happened, does it? So there you go.
Well, you're not that bothered, then, are you? Yeah. Chuck your stuff into the back of your car, head south.
Yeah.
You could live in Luton or something and commute into London.
It's good enough for the Okies in the 20s and the Dust Bowl era, or the 30s, and
or all
down to California,
or all backstories of Hollywood actors.
Right. Anyway, back onto the point. So, the local police chief's calling for backup, and his team goes down to Sutton Farm, followed by state police, military police from nearby Fort Campbell, and a photographer from the Kentucky New Era. They didn't find much. They found shell casings with gunshots, but no evidence. But they didn't find any proof of heavy drinking, Chris, which I know was one of my first thoughts. So according to the Sutton matriarch, liquor was not allowed in the farmhouse. That makes sense, doesn't it? Because you're not going to run a busy farm. You're all out drinking shine.
Could it be that thing where when yeast goes bad and it makes people all go mental?
Oh, right.
So you could.
Yeah, you hear tell of like people like eating bread with a bit of mold on it or something, and it can have hallucinations and things like that.
Yeah, they reckon that's what
this was the reason why saints would see things in the middle areas and stuff like that. Yeah. Mm. Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows?
It's like it's hallucinogenic, isn't it?
But I think if they were acting manic, then the police would have said that. I think they think they said. But once the police and the others left, though, the creatures returned around 2:30 in the morning and between daybreak. And the matriarch said she saw one glowing repeatedly by a bedside window, its claw-like hand on the screen. I mean, the one thing I'm going to stop on here, Chris, is what's these aliens going? Let's assume that they are aliens. What's their game? What are they up to?
Maybe they were coming down to get some milk or a cup of sugar. I mean, they didn't come in guns blazing. They defended.
Well, no, I think they've been pretty reasonable, to be honest with you. I mean, all right, they've got a little bit of a scary appearance, but people can look different. It is what it is. Or not people, but interterrestrials are obviously going to look quite different to us. We don't know they've got malicious intent. You've gone straight for your 22, your 20 gauge.
Well, it's
anything. You're lucky that they haven't retaliated.
Well, they did, didn't they?
Well, no, I'm saying the aliens haven't, have they? They've just gone like that. Fair enough.
Well, they've had a scratch at the roof. They've hovered around a tree. I thought that one of them shot back through the windscreen.
No, it's just them shooting out.
Oh, right.
So other than some potential, other than
so it wasn't. So I wouldn't really call it. I wouldn't really call it a gun battle, which is what it was.
It was quite a one-sided one. It's them shooting at what may or may not be aliens.
I don't know. I think this is the danger of arming a populace. Really, they could have been coming down to sort out the world's problems and give us all kind of unified living wage, provided we agree to be a vassal state of whatever their planet is.
Well, no, they're going to come down and give us faster than light technology and a solution to our energy crisis that wouldn't have created climate change. Unfortunately, instead of going down to the White House, what they've done is gone onto a farm in Hopkinsville.
Well, maybe they don't trust politicians.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you can't blame
them.
They
want to speak to the average man on the street.
Sort of the Earth chaps. See what they're like. They'll give us a good idea of what these people are like.
Yeah, well.
Oh, if only they'd landed in Greenwich Village or something, Chris. Oh, things would be very different by now, I'll tell you that.
Or Guildford.
Yeah. Kettering. A travelling Kettering. So they've got the police descriptions of these things as well, and they've got like round heads and glowing eyes. They look like kind of like flaps on the ears. Got like big Mr. Spock ears.
Ergot.
And then they're quite like...
that's the fungus, sorry.
Oh, right, yeah. Quite sort of muscular chests, but quite skinny waists and very little legs.
Well, they sound all right.
Yeah,
wouldn't mind one of them joining me and my pillow wife.
He can be as metallic as he wants. So straight after that then, Chris, days after, they've been on the radio and the newspapers, including the New York Times, who reported the incident, and hundreds of curiosity seekers descended on the farm Unfortunately, a lot of them were ridiculing the Suttons as ignorant or fraudulent. That's a bit off, isn't it? Snobs.
Well,
they're coming from out of town. And they're just like, look at funny accent.
Yeah. Oh God! Look at they haven't even painted the farmhouse.
Yeah, don't even have running water.
God. Oh God! Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Some snooty Englishman was just it's like Downton Abbey, which is so. But this is what I like, Chris. This is what we all say. So when no trespassing signs prove useless at discouraging them,
what the fuck's this? A well?
The family tried charging admission, 50 cents for entering the grounds, $1 for information, $10 for taking pictures. And after that, skeptics blasted them as fortune-seeking fabulists. No, do you know what? If you're all going to be coming down and disturbing us, fuck it, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to take a picture, you can charge, yeah. Right, $10 quite a lot in 1955.
That does seem quite a lot.
50 cents to go and see that, that's fair enough. If you want to go on private land.
Though?
The farm that they've shot up.
The farm that they shot up themselves.
You've read it in the newspaper and you thought it was interesting enough to come down. Well, I would imagine you'll spending 50 cents to go and see it then, fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. It's although, again, I think even that was probably quite a lot of money back then. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to them, isn't it? Right, it's their fucking property.
It's their land, yeah.
Yeah, fuck off then.
I think good for them.
Yeah.
The American way.
Yeah,
they've got something. They've got the supply. You've got the demand. There you go. That's how it works.
Exactly. It's capitalism.
Exactly. As the Kelly story spread into the world, it took on a life of its own. And apparently, this is where we get. It got conflated with stories about aliens and men in green, helping launch the myth of the little green men. Because these were little fellas.
So when does the goblin come in? Does he turn up? Is he a private eye?
Well, the goblin this is what they're calling it. So
Mr. Goblin, PI.
Because these things, as I've sort of explained, it's sort of outward appearance. They're kind of like about 2 foot high. And
because aliens weren't so prevalent, people called them goblins.
Yeah,
but they're not goblins. What we would consider traditional goblins.
No. They were thinking that because they'd seen this light in the sky, they were tying it with UFOs. I mean, who knows, Chris? Maybe there were some cheeky little kobolds or something. We don't know, do we?
Maybe goblins have developed space technology on the quiet.
Maybe that's where UFOs come from. Maybe it's just,
Goblins.
Big Goblin.
Big Goblin. You've got a lot of investments in Big Goblin, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I'm waiting for it to pay off. So far, we've got, we've done a bit of prog music for some direct movies. It's about as far as we've managed to penetrate the market.
I've heard that Big Goblin were selling some of their, now for them old, but for us new, rocket propulsion technology to Boeing to produce better missiles. That's what I heard.
Wouldn't be surprised.
That's what I read in my monthly subscription of Soldier of Fortune magazine.
Yep, Mo Goblin, Mo Money. Don't even know what that meant. Right. So,
Mo Goblin, no problem.
Yeah, no goblin, no cry. The day after the incident, police investigators.
Goblin, no cry. Oh, little goblin, don't shed no tears. Lovely.
The day after the incident, police investigators returned to the farmhouse, searching for evidence of a saucer landing, footprints, blood trails, or scratch marks on the roof. They found nothing.
Right.
Bud Ledworth, a local radio station employee, interviewed the adult witnesses and made drawings based on their accounts, which I've sort of already described. He was impressed by their remarkable specificity and consistency, even though the men were away from the farmhouse all day and unable to coordinate with the others. And it eventually got investigated by the Air Force.
Because even though the men have been away from the farmhouse all day, but I mean, how many days after the incident is this?
Yeah, and you could have. If you're being very sceptical, they could have just cooked it all up beforehand if they just wanted to tell Porky. So you don't know.
Big heads.
For what we've got,
body like a gas calendar, gorgeous chest,
big rounded, gorgeous chest. He's like Michael Phelps. But nothing going on in the leg region, just tiny little skinny little weird long arms with claws at the end.
Yeah.
But tiny little fellows as well.
It's easy enough to remember, isn't it?
Yeah. But it did get investigated by the Air Force UFO investigation program, Project Blue Book.
Blue Book, yeah.
They didn't officially pursue the matter beyond checking in with the Fort Campbell counterparts. They've been briefly there. And then in 1956, a ufologist called Isabel Davis did a thorough investigation, published several decades later by the Centre for UFO Studies.
How
200-page report.
How thorough could it be?
It was 200 pages.
Yeah, of what?
Including detailed maps, drawings, documentary records, summaries of similar accounts around the world, and interviews with several Sutton family members.
I feel like most of it would have been maps and references to other stuff around the world, considering there's no evidence.
There's not. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, anyway, she did summarise there was a concern about a lack of physical evidence, but to her reckoning, none of the possible explanations, a deliberate hoax, publicity play, group hallucinations, made a lot of sense. So, when
poisoning.
Questions about whether young men were exaggerating, possibly fueled by hidden stalls of liquor, her strong impression after meeting Mrs. Langford was of a sombre, no-nonsense matriarch who abhorred the limelight and had no reason to lie. None of the witnesses had any history of making preposterous allegations.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? That the whole fact, because if it was just the two guys, you could imagine, right, don't tell Ma, but let's run in and say
the whole
that
family are kind of like...
Yeah, the fact that they're all saying that they... Well, I mean, again, did the family see anything, or were the guys at the window shooting out going, oh, they're aliens, they're coming, they look like this. Oh, one scratching at the roof.
They reckon they see someone trying to attack his head, didn't they? But it was all by moonlight, and, you're probably might start getting a bit suggestible.
Could have been a raccoon.
Group. We'll get into an animal possibility later on. But in 2006, Joan Nichols, Senior Research Fellow of the International Committee for Skeptical Inquiry and a self-styled paranormal investigator. I want to get one of these jobs, Chris. I want to get one of them. Yeah, I'm not getting paid for. Is he getting paid for this though? That's what I want to know.
Probably by the History Channel.
Yeah. Put a little bit more effort.
That's the main take.
Make some money out of this. That's what I want. Anyway, he reviewed the accumulated evidence, and he raised suspicion about what he called Billy Taylor's embroidered testimony.
I thought you could say testicles.
He embroidered. He embroidered his testicles as well, but that's not relevant to the case, Chris. Permission to treat the witness as hostile, Your Honour. Bringing up irrelevant material, trying to discredit Billy Ray.
Just because
his testes have got any bearing on this case.
Just because he embroidered a picture of a turtle onto his ballsack does not mean that he didn't see aliens.
Does not make him an incredible witness. No bearing on this case whatsoever. Objection sustained. Right. He matched Taylor's UFO sighting with similar reports that day. So apparently there might have been a small meteor going down in the vicinity because there had been similar reports. So that might explain where they'd seen all the colours of the rainbow coming down from the sky. And as for the little man, he floated an explanation used for other alien encounter stories: owls.
Right.
Very Lynchian. So apparently the great horned owl.
Yeah.
That's a good name, isn't it? AKA the hoot owl. Not as good a name. He's got long wings that could be mistaken for arms, along with talons, yellow eyes, long ears, and a round head that might match the little man's description. As for the metallic shine, Nichols suggests they could have been reflecting moonlight. Mm-hmm. So the only thing is that while they're known to be active at dusk and aggressive defending their nest, investigators question whether they'd really. Well, they don't have guns. Well, no, there was no firing back. And that. But maybe he had some rabid great owls. Anyway, so. Could have been wild animals attacking them, some sort of birds. They're thinking that.
Great owls are gorgeous. I'm just having a look at them.
It's not a huge reach from the kind of like description that they're given to sort of like an owl. Because the reason you can't really see the legs or they seem so skinny is because they're not
Yeah.
And you got you'd have the wings, which sort of
gorgeous, muscular Dwayne the Rock Johnson chest.
Because they're obviously because you're flying a boot. Yeah, so that's the kind of that's the history of the Little Green Men origin story, Hopkinsville Kelly case. Unfortunately, it doesn't follow up on whether they had a revisit. I'm assuming they didn't. But it got a lot of press coverage. This is where we get the phrase "Little Green Men." Some ufologists compared the alleged creatures to gremlins, which have since been referred to as the Hopkinsville Goblins in popular culture. So why they call them goblins, I don't know. But it's been distinguished by its duration and by the number of witnesses involved. Project Blue Book listed the case as a hoax with no form of further comment. But yeah, it's the 1986 comedy horror Critters, loosely based on the Kelly Hopkinsville case. Apparently a Pokemon is based on this, so that's nice.
Ugh.
Give a shit about Pokemon.
Yeah, you do. You love it.
Yeah. I know all of the fire lizards. And yeah, whatever. And apparently there's been on a TV series as well called Project Blue Book. So they've turned that into a TV show, apparently.
Yeah. I've watched a few episodes.
It's on the History Channel, apparently. So, yeah. You'll have seen all this before.
What's the difference between...
the Kelly community now celebrates the anniversary of the event every third weekend of August with an event called the Kelly Little Green Men Days.
So that will sometimes be on my birthday. Maybe that's what I'll do for my 40th.
Yeah, get down to Hopkinsville.
Go to Hopkinsville, join in that, and get a cameo from Cisco. Beautiful.
That'd be good.
40th done.
Time well spent.
What's the difference between Pokemon and dogfighting? There isn't really any, is there?
Yeah, not really. I mean, it's just kind of like
they like it apparently,
but they're like animated and cute. Yeah. No, it's they sort of thought, well, you should have seen one of the original concepts. It was just basically like bear baiting. And they sort of let's tone it down a little bit to make it kid friendly. Yeah, maybe if we made the monsters like cute, that'd be all right. But yeah, the concept is kind of horrifying, isn't it?
Yeah, going and trapping wild creatures and then making them fight each other.
Making them fight each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting that people don't focus in on that a bit more, isn't it? Weird that the marketing people at Pokemon don't.
See what they want to see, Chris. See what they want to see, as long as it makes a buck.
Ugh, disgusting.
Yeah, big Pokemon. Making money hand over fist out of this
You've
stuff.
got a lot of investments in big Pokemon, haven't you?
Well, yeah. Hey, look, if people didn't want to do it, I just go where the money is, mate. I supply what people want. I'm not moral about it. I'm not going to get on my high horse. Just giving people what they want.
Well, that's it, isn't it? There is no money. Money has no God, I believe they say. That's a famous saying, isn't it?
Famous saying you just made up. Yeah.
So why did some people start calling them gremlins, and then so they're just
because they looked a little bit like goblins or gremlins. I don't really know what the gremlin goblins thing is, to be honest with you. I don't understand why.
You'd just call them aliens, wouldn't you?
I mean, as they say, some ufologists have compared the alleged creatures to gremlins.
Why?
And they've been referred to as for some reason the little fellas, like when they saw that, because you can and listener, you can Google this and see the picture yourself. It does look like a little goblin or kobold or something. I don't know. I'm not up for my it looks less like your traditional little green man than it does like some sort of medieval spirit or something.
Okay.
So I think that's why they ended up calling them goblins, just because that's what they look a bit like. But no, supposedly this very much was supposed to be. I mean, the thing is though, there's no real evidence that it's a UFO, other than the fact that they thought they saw something coming down from the sky,
all the
and they were attacked by things that could fly. So definitely not birds.
Yeah,
I mean, Occam's razor and all that. Probably more likely.
Famously ground-based animals. They fear the sky, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's probably people getting a bit excited and then seeing some owls.
Yeah, I think they've maybe gotten a little bit excited. They got a bit bored. There's nothing really to do on the farm, other than dig the well and sort of, let's
not paint the house.
Not paint the house. Play horseshoes again because nobody likes painting. And you've just got a bit hysterical perhaps, and everyone's just kind of like...
Yeah, it must have been so boring.
Or some aliens decided to come down to Earth, go for a little visit, and then just scratch at the windows and kind of like fly about a little bit to piss off some farmers. Not really seeing what's in it for the aliens, having come all that way.
No.
That's the question that never gets asked, Chris.
What do the aliens want? Well...
Yeah. What are they getting out of it? Slaughter some cattle.
I'll tell you what. If it was night, and have you seen a harpy eagle before?
I have not. No.
I'll share my screen with you, because if you saw one of these at night, you'd think it was a fucking demon or something. Like, they're amazing.
And out in the middle of the night, where it's like it's like a full moon. Yeah.
Look at this fucker. They're huge as well.
Is that George Harrison sitting next to one?
Yeah, that was the Harpy Eagle produced his third solo album.
Oh. Yeah, he's a pretty keen guitarist, by all accounts. Yeah, no, that is pretty freaky looking, but kind of majestic as well.
Yeah, they're amazing Harpy Eagles. I think they're from the Amazon, though. Yeah, they're crazy guys. Everyone should have a look at Harpy Eagle. That's my advice to them.
There you go.
So Neil,
anyway, yeah. So
should we go through?
I don't think they're local to the area, but yeah, some kind of bird does make that. I could see that. Anyway, yeah, scoring.
Yes, Neil. So, spook.